If you enjoy watching Alexandra Mayers, then make sure that you check out pntlive.net every week. The following are a few of the latest episodes. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome once more to another video podcast of PNT Live, exclusively from the PNT Live network. And remember, if you'd like to check out archives of the PNT Live network, just make sure you pop on over to pntlive.net. Now, today I'm going to share with many of you a rather interesting blog post by one of my favorite adult entertainment industry bloggers, a man known as Luke Ford. Actually, it was Luke Ford who kind of inspired me to continue my own path as an independent investigative journalist or blogger when it comes to the adult entertainment industry, because the truth is out there. Sometimes it's suppressed, sometimes it's concealed, but it's out there. And hidden knowledge is a passion of mine to try to share, to try to enlighten the population in regards to. And from my perspective, that's something that Luke Ford has done, which is why I'm probably going to take the time at least once a week to share one of his insightful journal entries or blog posts. Now, today, the blog post that I'm going to be sharing, I'm not sure when it was written. There doesn't seem to be a date on it, but it does say that there is an update in 1999. So I think initially this post must have been written in the mid-1990s, but it's about an adult actress known as Melissa Hill. Melissa Hill features her own B-cup breast and the ability to act her way out of a paper bag. She stands 5'4", weighs 115 pounds, and measures 3B 2536. In her 20s, the former ballerina and ballet teacher appears in 130 productions during her 3 years in porn. She lives in the San Francisco Bay Area where she grew up. Hill's never lived anywhere else. Her family, ignorant of her porn work, live nearby. The oldest of 3 daughters, Melissa developed as a quiet, shy, nerdy kid who liked to read all the time. She retains those characteristics, never talking to strangers and uncomfortable discussing sex. I'm going to interject there. From my perspective, any professional within the adult entertainment industry who comes across someone who claims that they want to be an adult actress but is uncomfortable discussing sex, which is the job, probably is not right for the job of being an adult actress. And such professionals around such an adult actress or potential adult actress, it seems as though it would be their responsibility to deter this actress from moving forward in the industry, or to out and out not even book the individual for any jobs within the industry. But I'll continue. In answering my questions about cum shots, blowjobs, and anal sex, which she doesn't do, Melissa frequently used words like weird, awkward, and embarrassed. Strangely enough, I do get embarrassed, blush, and become awkward. I can't even dirty talk during a scene. It's part of me I can't overcome yet as an actress. That's a quote by Melissa Hill. For 2 years, Melissa dated Swedish porn director Nick Kramer, which didn't necessarily work to her advantage. They limited her participation in his movies, so she won't be dismissed as just the director's girlfriend. She waited around on Nick's sets far longer than other performers who who'd receive a $40 to $100 kill fee if they weren't used. Compared to other performers, Melissa grew up slowly, not dating or having sex until 17 years old. After taking 17 years of ballet, she taught the subject for 5 years after high school until entering porn. Melissa waited until she was 18 to go to her first dance club. She never used a fake ID or tried drugs. She didn't drink until the age of 21. She accompanied her friend, Caitlin Hill, to porn shoots before diving into the industry. She started with amateur sex videos in San Francisco before moving to bigger LA productions. In her first sexual experience with a girl, Melissa did her friend Caitlin, also a lesbian virgin. Video Virgins features lots of nervous giggling between the two. Melissa is heterosexual. She's never been with a girl in private, though she remains open to it. Quote, "When I started in porn, I didn't realize you could refuse things or choose who you wanted to work with, or choose where you got the pop shot. And so I resent always getting it in the face. I see so many girls say, 'I won't take it in the face.' Since people know I'll take it there, that's where it always goes." Melissa feels disgust for men who use the cum shot to a woman's face as a vicarious revenge on females who've rejected them in the past. Quote, "I'm glad that none of my friends feel that way. I would never do anything demeaning. At first, I never wanted to play a hooker. I wanted to show that you can be intelligent, properly dressed, and still be in adult movies. You can think and act. I'm an actress, not a porn star, and certainly not a cunt for hire or sperm receptacle. No one has the right to call us that. I don't like to read the sex magazines like Hustler Erotic Video Guide. They're insulting. Though recently, I saw a piece they did on my friend Gentile, and it was the most pleasant thing they've ever said about anybody. They write for the fantasies of a select group of men. If you give them an interview, they quote you out of context by taking part of a statement to make it appear that you're insulting someone." End quote. Melissa lists her primary reasons for performing in porn as money and the opportunity to act. She wants to go mainstream one day. The San Francisco native eventually wants marriage and children. She hasn't thought about the problems that will arise in her future because of her X-rated past. She lists her best movies as Arrowhead, Apocalypse Climax, The Girl with the Heart-Shaped Tattoo, Dreams of Desires, and Penetrator 2. Quote, "I judge them by my acting role," says Melissa. "I don't remember my sex scenes." Let's pause there. "I don't remember my sex scenes," says an adult actress. That's not healthy. From my perspective, this woman never should have been in the adult entertainment industry. As of current, there is a licensed doctor who has recommended that this woman go into a mental health treatment program. I hope one day she decides to do so, because if you're willingly cutting out a part of your life that you would be known to the public for, that's not healthy mentally. Not at all. And I really wish that somebody would have noticed more so that this girl didn't need to be in the adult entertainment industry. Paul Fishbein calls Melissa the most underrated adult star. Quote, "She can act. She can F. Everybody likes her and she looks like the girl next door. More good performances in the last 2 years, 95 and 96, than anyone." End quote. Okay, so this was written probably around 96 or 97. Hill hardened during her years in porn, looking as though she used drugs regularly. Then in 1997, she broke up with Nick Kramer and started getting her life back in order. Patrick Riley writes on the rec.arts.movies.erotica news group on April 24th, 1999. Watching Wet Spots number 7 from Elegant Angel last night, and who appears but Melissa Hill? Isn't this a step down? Wasn't she a VVW person with a possible future like Julie Ashton? Most of this series is definite raincoater material, although her scene in number 7 uses condoms and has no anals, DPs, A2Ms, or spitting. However, the interesting factor from the POV of keeping up with the private lives and breeding, as in producing infants, of the porn community is her body deterioration. Loss of belly muscle tone, and her tits have become smaller and flabbier. They probably aren't really smaller, it's just that the rest of her upper body has become fatter. The camera guy asks her about her vacation of 18 months from the industry, but gleans no useful information. He does keep well away from her belly though, and she herself uses every opportunity to lie on her front, only at the end doing RC, where she leans back, which has the effect of tensioning the belly muscles and disguising any flab. So has she produced a rugrat, or is this just fast aging? So that's the end of that. This is actually a cautionary tale from my perspective, because just from what Luke Ford wrote, and he's a pretty astute judge of character, this was a woman who, from my perspective, maybe didn't have the confidence to attempt mainstream acting, so she went into adult entertainment. And to the young women out there who might be watching me, please do not go into the adult entertainment industry, because there is no win at all. But especially don't go in if you're not comfortable with discussing the mechanics of sex, if you're not comfortable with sex, if it's something that you would be ashamed of your parents finding out about, because once you do it, there's no going back, and it will follow you and affect you for the rest of your life. Trust me, I know. So take care, everybody. Have a great morning, evening, or afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Thank you for checking out this episode of the PNT Live Network. And remember, you can always check out the archives on pntlive.net. Bye-bye. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome once more to another video podcast of PNT Live. And remember, anytime you want to check out archives of this podcast, you can always just pop on over to pntlive.net. I'm your host, Alexandra Mayers. Tonight, I'm going to read a rather insightful blog post from MikeSouth.com. It's a blog post titled, "Bananas and Burned Bridges: The Tragic Decline and Fall of Porn Star Melissa Hill, Part 1. This was posted by somebody who utilizes the alias XXX Reporter on April 12th, 2019. But I do suspect that the individual who wrote this particular blog post was Ari Scott Bass, aka Michael Whitaker. Before I continue, when it comes to this particular post, which is quite the cautionary tale when it comes to the adult entertainment industry, I want to share with all of you the following tweet, a tweet that I posted earlier today. After nearly a decade, I see exactly why key players in the adult industry keep Ari Scott Bass, aka Michael Whitaker, around. Would I ever be his friend? Absolutely not. But in the world of organized crime, where evil thrives, he's a necessary evil used to keep the worst evil out. Now, in the future, I will expand a bit on that tweet because I'm sure that it is shocking to many of you that I would tweet such a thing or even read this particular blog post. But it's imperative that I read this particular blog post because I personally feel that the general public needs to hear it, they need to understand it, and every young woman out there needs to hear this blog post when it comes to the truth of what could happen to you should you dare to enter the adult entertainment industry in America, most importantly, the pornography industry. Bananas and Burned Bridges: The Tragic Decline and Fall of Porn Star Melissa Hill, Part 1, by XXX Reporter. From vivid babe to paranoid shrieking tweaker, there are few bridges that ex-porn star Melissa Hill hasn't burned. Hopefully, there's someone left in Porn Valley who cares enough about Lori to get her help or leave her to finally hit rock bottom. It's excruciatingly difficult to watch someone close to you come undone, ruin their lives, and lose everything over drugs. Methamphetamine is a particularly atrocious drug. I've watched tweakers painstakingly disassemble everything from smoke detectors to doorknobs in search of hidden cameras and microphones. Readers of this site have all seen the harrowing ravages of drug abuse in the faces of the adult business's lost souls over the years. One wishes to reach out and warn those at risk, the dabblers who so often lose their way. The scourge of drug abuse is worsened by untreated mental illness in the user. Using narcotics as a way to escape one's demons usually serves to lock them in place and often heighten their effects. This is, of course, another patent reality to those on the outside looking in. And again, one wishes that the objects of our concern would heed the lessons of history and swallow some good advice. But history is more of a tragedy than it is a morality tale, as the late Christopher Hitchens once noted. Sadly, some people can't be told. They have to learn the hard way. Making Melissa. Lori had kind of a fucked up background. I won't go into the details because she was genuinely the victim of forces beyond her control. Suffice it to say, she ended up a nice girl with a somewhat disordered personality. She wandered into porn via the amateur video route in the early 1990s, shooting for Mike South among others. Although working with South gave her essential experience and she remained friendly with him over the years, in reality, she would frequently badmouth him, wrinkling her nose at his mention and claiming, by way of defense, that she only had sex with him because the male talent he had booked to shoot with her couldn't get it up. The theme of friendliness versus friendship is a recurring one in this tale. The adult business of the 1990s was actually family-like, and as Melissa Hill, she found acceptance in a community. Bright and emotive, and good at handling dialogue, she found work in larger features. She could also take a facial like the best of them. Vivid director, some would say manipulator, Paul Thomas, used her so prominently and to such effect that people thought she was a Vivid girl. In fact, the right thing for Vivid to have done would have been to sign her alongside Chasey Lane, Christy Canyon, Taylor Hayes, Gentile, and other stars of the day. But Melissa allowed herself to be treated as disposable, and no one at Vivid saw any need to treat her as more than a kind of red-headed stepchild. I recall several cliques in the 1990s porn, including rocker girls, party girls, escorts, then a minority, etc. As someone constantly seeking acceptance, Melissa often latched on to the first hands that stretched out to her. Those hands often did not belong to the firmest or the healthiest of the lot. My link to Melissa's world back then was a girl performer, a wonderful, loving gal who remains my friend to this day, who also ran girls as a small-time madam in the mid to late 1990s. This mutual friend would be the first person I saw fall into and be sucked dry by methamphetamine abuse. I only met Melissa in passing back in those days, but I thought she was quite pretty and had a gleam of intelligence in her eyes that made her even more appealing. A glimpse at Melissa's credits on IAFD shows she dropped off the planet in 2002. Hill tells two stories to explain her time in oblivion. The first centers around the abuse and trauma she says she experienced at the hands of Swedish-born adult director Nick Kramer. Melissa describes Kramer as a sadist who throughout their relationship used pain, fear, and humiliation to keep her under his thumb. I, like others, have heard a few of her harrowing stories, but to the best of my knowledge, no one can confirm or disprove anything. It is not my intention to do either here. Whatever transpired between them was clearly traumatic to Melissa for one reason or another. The second story Melissa tells is that in the early 2000s, she had been offered a significant mainstream opportunity, a toaster in a production with big money backers. They insisted, however, she bleach her hair blonde. Melissa says she exceeded their request, but the process severely fried her hair. The shock and disappointment of this triggered her, in modern parlance, and sent her spinning out of control, she says, until ended up a tweaker driving and roaming the streets of Bakersfield with a dog. Melissa had made a friend in Los Angeles, the famous rock and roll photographer Neil Preston. Preston, 20 years her senior, has shot her for the insert of a Brian Setzer orchestra CD. She claims the two dated briefly. Preston took pity on her and eventually moved her into a spare room in the lovely Studio City home he purchased in 2004. Melissa describes a reclusive life after returning to Los Angeles from the wilderness. She blames her reclusiveness largely on fear and PTSD caused by her relationship with Kramer. Her day-to-day life consisted of shopping, housework, assisting Preston, and tending to his father, an old-time Broadway man with a lifetime's worth of stories about the Great White Way. At some point, Melissa had met and became romantically involved with a luckless drug dealer who ended up going to prison for a long stretch. She dutifully waited for him, his things packed, more like piled, alongside her own at Preston's house. But when he was released, he returned home across the Atlantic without a second glance, never having contacted the pining Melissa. Cut to 2012. Through some great effort, Melissa ventured back into society, just around the time that the campaign against the AIDS Healthcare Foundation's Measure B was in full swing. Though she still had trouble getting places on time and missed the chartered bus, she did manage to make it to a protest march that started on Hollywood Boulevard. It was around this time that Melissa began giving away her ex's things, including his coke stash, which she turned over to the apish porn PA, personal assistant, and sometimes companion, Shelley Bartolini. She would, and continues to, feign friendship with Bartolini, but would confide to others that he had been dropped on his head as a baby. Anyone who has ever tried to converse with this gorilla would instantly accept the story as true. Melissa's mood swings and jealous, vitriolic attacks were jarring, and reportedly it was Bartolini who would in time give Melissa the nickname Bananas. In part 2, Melissa Hill makes enemies, is displaced, and turns to social media to channel her anger and drug-fueled paranoid conspiracy theories. We will meet Todd Bridges of Different Strokes, Scott Baio of Charles in Charge, and others as our tragic tale continues. And again, if you would like to read that for yourself, you can visit mikesouth.com, one of the longest adult entertainment industry blogs, initially founded by Michael Struther, aka Mike South, currently controlled by, well, it's rumored to currently be controlled by the Luxury Companion. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to another video podcast of PNT Live, brought to you by pntlive.net. I'm your hostess, Alex Mayers. It is advised that adult entertainers and fans alike avoid upcoming adult industry conventions, specifically the upcoming Exotica show in Chicago. Why? Well, because of the potential harm, if not fatalities, that the coronavirus could bestow upon you. If you pop on over to pornnewstoday.com, you'll see the headline, "Will the porn industry conventions become coronavirus ground zero?" Our industry union officer, Kelly Pierce's concerns, falling on deaf ears, and I'm just going to very quickly read this to you. Our team highly advises that all porn stars, adult industry professionals, and fans alike pass on attending the adult industry conventions at least until the end of August of 2020, considering the rapid spread of the deadly coronavirus. Though Kelly Pierce, an APAG officer, has expressed concern over the upcoming Exotica convention, as of current, it doesn't appear that the convention is being canceled, which is highly irresponsible in the opinion of Team Porn News Today. Active porn stars may want to consider adding their peers who opt to attend adult industry conventions to their no list, especially considering the vast amount of content trade and privates porn stars engage in with the general untested public that attends conventions. No amount of money is worth putting your health or life at risk. Now, you would think that Michelle LeBlanc of the Free Speech Coalition by now would have called for a nationwide industry moratorium when it comes to these upcoming adult industry conventions, but she hasn't, at least not as of yet, though she has posted a coronavirus advisory. So make sure that you follow pornnewstoday.com for additional updates. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome once more to another video podcast of PNT Live, brought to you by pntlive.net. I am the owner, operator, and founder of pntlive.net and pornnewstoday.com, Alexandra Mayers. This morning, and really all day today, we are going to discuss something very important, something horrific that is occurring within the American adult entertainment industry. Something myself and other ethical, professional, independent, investigative bloggers within the adult entertainment industry have noticed for years, have spoken out about, and have had people strategically attempt to silence us in regards to. In my particular case, I was even unjustly, fraudulently sued in a Las Vegas, Nevada court in regards to the information that I have tried to share when it comes to the abuse, unethical activity, and organized crime within the adult entertainment industry. This morning, we are going to specifically talk about white privilege enabled men within the adult entertainment industry who are consistently and strategically attempting to silence female performers, specifically white privilege enabled female performers, from speaking out about the abuse they suffer and organized crime elements that they witness within the adult entertainment industry. Today, I am going to be specifically focusing on an adult actress and incredibly talented writer known as Vera King. First and foremost, thank you very much, Vera King, for reaching out on social media last night and telling me thank you. I just saw it this morning. First off, there's no reason for you to tell me thank you because I haven't done anything for you personally. And truthfully, I don't think there is anything I can do for you aside from amplify your voice, which is what I will do in the next podcast. But I do want you, specifically Vera, to understand that my previous podcast on alexandramayerslive.com was not directed towards you personally, okay? It wasn't directed to strong, beautiful women such as Bobby Dylan personally. It was directed towards some other women who know very well who they are. One woman in particular, who I interviewed back in the year 2014. A woman who had a very compelling testimony in regards to the luxury companion. It was actually shortly after that interview that I started being incredibly attacked by the powers that be of the adult entertainment industry. People tried for years, even one of the operators of the luxury companion tried for years for me to pull that video interview that I conducted with her. I mean, I felt like I was constantly being stoned to death because of that interview. People don't understand what I went through to keep that damn interview online. But I held on, and I knew I had to keep that interview online because I knew that her testimony would encourage other women to have the courage to come forward and speak up in regards to the abuse and unethical and criminal activity that they suffered at the hands of agencies and criminal outlets such as the Luxury Companion. Part of the reason that I posted the podcast that I did yesterday was because since the Luxury Companion was taken to task last week legally, that woman who I basically laid my life on the line for by keeping that interview online said some of the most horrific things about me that I think I've ever read. She didn't have the nerve to say those things and name me directly or even tweet me from her primary Twitter account. She didn't have the nerve because, of course, she wanted the glory of being one of the first to speak out. But did she say thank you to me? No. No gratitude. Probably one of the most narcissistic bitches in the industry. And that's why I say karma's real. And I don't encourage anyone out there who belongs to any organizations to quote unquote help porn stars leave the industry, because any girl or gentleman who's in that world, who has the desire to leave and move forward with their life, they will do it on their own without any donations, without any poking or prodding. And how do I know this? Because I did it. That's how I know. But no one needs to help them, because helping in a certain way actually leads to the detriment of the person attempting to help. That is what happened to the activist, someone who I considered an ally and a friend, known as Shelley Lubin. She wasn't perfect, but love her or hate her, she was an educator. And part of what killed her was the lack of gratitude. But Vera King, my stance in regards to what I just shared doesn't have to do with you. I've never met you personally. And from what I have read that you wrote, your testimony, I think you're a beautiful soul. And women throughout the country, all women of Earth, need to hear your testimony. They need to feel your experience, because your experience is, believe it or not, a common experience. And people don't want to admit it, but it's a sign that slavery is making a comeback within the United States of America. Whenever people think about slavery, they think of someone who looks like me being enslaved. They think of a person of color. But that is what, from my perspective, white privilege enabled pimps utilize to their advantage. They know that hardly anybody views a white privilege enabled woman as being capable of being enslaved. But the reality is that, at least from my perspective, it is white privilege enabled women who are at most risk of falling into slavery. Reason being, genetic memory. They don't come from recent slave stock. They don't come from families that have had to fight against oppression quite often. They don't know what it is. So when something like what's happened to Vera King occurs, they just feel like, oh, let me just be quiet about it and not think about it. Pretend like it didn't happen. But you can't do that. One of the greatest gifts that God has given us as human beings is the concept of free will. And because we as humans have that, there's quite a few forces of the dark who are jealous, and they want to take that from us. But you, regardless of your system of belief, you don't have to be a Christian. You can just be a humanist. But you got to realize your free will is not just a gift, it's something that you got to fight to retain. So anyways, what Vera King has inadvertently revealed and put in the public spotlight via her incredibly well-written testimony, which you can find excerpts from on pornnewstoday.com, and you can read in its entirety on mikesouth.com. What she's brought to light is the situation of a specific group of white privilege enabled males within the adult entertainment industry who have the specific objective of silencing women who are making extraordinary claims of abuse that they've experienced and abuse that they have witnessed. Today, I'm going to name some of those individuals. There's far more men who should be on this list than what I'm naming today, but these are just the first names that came to my mind this morning. And these are men that I highly encourage all women, specifically sex workers and porn stars, familiarize themselves with, become aware of, and avoid. Roger T. Pipe of Raj Reviews. I witnessed him attempt to silence, bully, and isolate a woman known as Melissa Hill not too long ago when she first started speaking out in regards to abusography. He should be ashamed of himself, and he's someone who never needs to cross my path. An individual known as Captain Jack from Adult DVD Talk. Captain Jack, from my perspective, is one of those men who attempted to silence one of the first women to speak out in regards to the luxury companion. Derek Hay of LA Direct Models, an agent. Self-explanatory. He was just taken to task legally last week in regards to his linkage to pimping, pandering, and elements of sex trafficking linked to the luxury companion. James Felton, a lawyer for the adult entertainment industry, an individual who has provided his legal services to the luxury companion, a pimping, pandering, and prostitution venue, along with an attorney who, as of current, is providing free services to one of the adult entertainment industry's unions. A lawyer who has contacted me several times over the years attempting to silence some of the information I have shared with the public, but who has been unsuccessful in doing so consistently. Dwight Cunningham, one of the operators of the luxury companion. Self-explanatory, he's a pimp. Donald Carlos Sion, aka Donnie Long. Self-explanatory, one of the founders of Porn WikiLeaks, one of the most atrocious hate crimes that has ever been within the adult entertainment industry. A hate crime that was homophobic, misogynistic, and racist. A hate crime that to this day has offshoots that continue to bully and criminally stalk and harass and threaten myself and my family and countless others. Donald's efforts, in fact, have pushed certain individuals to suicide. Jeff Mullen, aka Will Ryder, a pornographer, someone who I worked with years ago, and someone who attempted to silence my claim of rape. Someone who in the year 2011 suggested that I commit suicide, all because of vanity. Another pornographer and photographer known as Stills by Alan, who apparently reached out to some of the online vehicles known to bully porn stars to silence someone who made claims of abuse against him. Jim Wise, an individual who claims to be a DMCA expert, but in actuality has the objective of silencing claims of abuse and elements of organized crime within the adult entertainment industry. You can learn more about him on dmca512.info. Gustavo Turner. Thank you very much, Vera King, for bringing to light some issues revolving around Gustavo that have been needed to be addressed for quite some time. It really surprised me over the past week or so that Gustavo had the audacity to post the legal name of a veteran adult industry leader known as Felicia Ann in a widely read article on XBiz in regards to some political issues, but did not do the same in turn when it came to another industry leader known as Alana Evans. For a while now, I have heard some rumors about him. To the other active porn stars out there who are hesitant or afraid to speak out in regards to Gustavo, I'm here to tell you, he can't do anything to you. Okay? If there's something that you need to say in regards to him and you're afraid to approach others in the industry about his behavior, feel free to email me directly via pornnewstoday.com, and I will research your story and I will put it out there for public view, because the kind of predator that he appears to be is incredibly dangerous. From my perspective, he attempts to present himself as being an advocate for women, an ally to women. But in actuality, it seems that he's one of the most self-serving men that the industry has possibly ever seen. He doesn't need to be in the industry. What he needs to do is get a real job and possibly procure the services from Nevada legal brothels, because that is how he's treating the talent pool. Last but not least, Sean Tompkins. As many of you are aware, I have mixed feelings when it comes to Sean Tompkins due to being familiar with him for over a decade now. I feel that if Sean Tompkins, aka TRPWL, were to get assistance for his mental issues and what appears to be a substance abuse problem, he would be a lot more balanced, and he wouldn't feel the need to play up to certain elements of organized crime or sex trafficking in effort to gain their favor or to make money. Because once he's balanced out, I think that, honestly, I don't even think he would blog about the adult entertainment industry anymore. I just don't. But as of current, Sean Tompkins has been known to try to squelch stories. He has bullied victims of abuse. Is he someone that the talent pool can trust when it comes to trying to get their story out? No, not at all. Not at all. I will say that he has brought attention to some important issues within the industry, but when I look at his entire body of work, he's harmed far more than he's helped or assisted, and that's not good. I actually feel that part of Sean's problem had to do with his falling out with an individual known as Ari Scott Bass, aka Michael Whitaker. Ari Bass, again, is someone who I have mixed feelings about, but what I do know about Ari is that he tries to fix people, especially people who have substance abuse problems or who may suffer from certain levels of mental illness. From my perspective, he did attempt to help Sean, and what a lot of people don't realize about Sean's blog, trpwl.com, is that that blog wouldn't be if it were not for Ari Scott Bass. Ari Scott Bass was who initially took Sean under his wing, introduced him to many key players within the industry, and lent his own writing skills and talent to that outlet. Realistically, trpwl.com should be operated, controlled by, and run by Ari Scott Bass. I don't think he's written much for that outlet since about, I'd say, 2015. And I've really seen the quality of pieces on that outlet go dramatically downhill since Ari's presence has no longer been a part of that media outlet. So that's about all I'm going to say for today when it comes to certain key individuals who are white privileged enabled men within the adult entertainment industry who are attempting to silence instances of abuse that their female counterparts are experiencing or that they witness. My next video blog will include some excerpts from Vera King's piece. If you're a very sensitive person, it's not going to be a video blog I would recommend that you listen to, because she's such a talented writer that her words will make you feel her pain. So have a great day, everybody. Once more, I'm Alexandra Mayers, founder, owner, and operator of PornNewsToday.com.